everybody, it's Harvard lawyer Lee. Today I want to talk about a case that is at the very cutting edge of the law, and I want to explain why. It may look like an ordinary personal injury case. Jeff Wittek was hurt filming a video for David Dobrik, so he's suing David Dobrik. But it's got implications that go so far beyond that particular case. Traditionally, legal cases are set up with the concept that one side doesn't know what the other side knows, that there's going to be a discovery process, and that one side will find out what the other knows, but under very careful rules. The reason this case is so unusual is because these guys are YouTubers. And so they did exactly what YouTubers do, and frankly, what more and more of us are doing every day. They filmed everything. They didn't just film the accident where Jeff Wittek was hurt. They filmed their comments about it. They filmed their thoughts about it. They filmed apologies. They filmed the medical care. It is so documented. It's beyond anything that the law is normally set up to expect. I want you to see, by just doing a YouTube video and talking about it, how far David Dobrik has taken the case down the road toward liability for him and for Jeff Wittek being able to win the case. This is going to impact the case in ways that he didn't imagine at the time he made this YouTube video. And in fact, there wasn't even a case when he made the YouTube video. Now there is. Jeff Wittek has sued David Dobrik asking for $10 million. The rumor is that Camille Vasquez and Ben Chu, the same lawyers who represented Johnny Depp, are going to take David Dobrik's case. They are going to be facing some difficulties because of what their client has said in public. I'll set the stage for you. The stage is that Jeff Wittek was filming a video with David Dobrik. David Dobrik, huge YouTuber, 18 million followers. Jeff Wittek, pretty big YouTuber himself, 3 million followers. David Dobrik had been away from YouTube and decided to film a comeback. The comeback he wanted to be really special, really exciting and interesting, and he was sort of known for crazy stunts and hijinks, some of which people had already said were way too dangerous. During this particular stunt, David Dobrik decided what he would do is rent an excavator. They went to a lake in Provo, Utah, and then David Dobrik operated the crane and spun people around while they were on a tube connected to the end of this crane for kind of a crazy stunt in the middle of the lake on water. But at some point, they decided that just wasn't exciting enough, took it to the next level. And what they did was, instead of tying something to the rope, somebody got on the rope, like hanging onto the rope. They may have been tied on. The first woman tried it, didn't like it, said, "You're crazy, let me off." David Dobrik let her off. And then his friend, former friend, Jeff Wittek, got on. And David Dobrik swung that crane hard, really fast, really hard. He stopped suddenly, and the rope with Jeff Wittek on it whacked against the side of the excavator. Jeff Wittek was severely injured. He has had multiple surgeries. I think it was 10 or 12, some large number. Nearly lost his vision, still has troubles with one eye in particular, has a head injury, and their friendship was clearly ruptured. They have both posted videos. David, sort of an apology, that's too strong a word, but a 50-minute discussion about it. And then Jeff Wittek has also posted something about it. Now, in this opening clip, what you're going to see is David Dobrik talking about a situation where he is going to claim, and we'll talk about this later, he is going to claim that Jeff Wittek had the idea to do this. It was all his fault. It was his idea. But I want you to hear, as he does this, how he admits all of the key points of the case against him. Here are the key points. If you think about an injury case, a personal injury case, and truthfully, this is true for most civil cases, there are three things that you have to have as a plaintiff to win the case. The first thing is you have to have damages, because otherwise, what's the point of suing? If you weren't hurt, why are you here? But the damages have to be caused by something that the defendant did. Think of it like a stool with three legs. You pull out any one leg from a stool, it's going to fall over. That's exactly how it is here. So first you have to have that plaintiff was injured, and there was a defendant who was liable for that, who was responsible for that, and what the defendant did caused the injuries to the plaintiff. So you're going to hear David Dobrik admit all three of those right here on YouTube in a video he's posted.
And he's like, "Can you just promise that no one ever knows that this was my idea?" And I was like, "Absolutely. Like, that's not a big deal." And then That's the promise I broke recently. And here's the thing. I don't understand why that bothered him so much, because at the end of the day, I was the one fucking driving it. It was my video.
Okay, did you hear that already? He's admitted liability. He was the one driving it. He was the one at the end of the day who was responsible. He stated that.
I was the one sitting there. It's fucking clear as day. I am the one controlling the thing. He got hurt because I was driving. That's it. And I fucking know that. And like I said, I would.
Did you hear how he admitted he got hurt because of what I did? So now he's admitted all three prongs. Jeff Wittek was hurt. He was liable for it. He was responsible for it. And he caused the injuries by what he did.
Any chance I would get, I would take that back. Any chance I would get. And that'll be the biggest regret of my life, my entire life. I really hope there's not a moment that I regret as much as that one. So that's why I hate talking about this, because he is a victim. Like, he got fucking hurt. His face is crushed. He has to go to multiple surgeries. Like, I understand that.
Okay, and do you hear how he fully admitted the damages to Jeff Wittek from the accident, that Jeff Wittek was hurt?
And back to the secret that he wanted me to keep. I was all hands on deck for that. But
I want to stop him right here so I can explain what's about to happen. In the lawsuit that Jeff Wittek has filed against David Dobrik, one of the arguments is going to be, well, Jeff Wittek wanted to do this. It was Jeff's idea. He was all on board. He was not an employee. He was an independent contractor or even just a friend who was there, and he chose to do this. He assumed the risk in legal terms is what the argument is going to be. So David Dobrik is going to talk about the assumption of the risk, but he's going to give away the percentage. I'll explain what that means as soon as you hear what he says.
I feel like I can take, 80% of the responsibility, 90%, 100% of the risk. It started to feel like I was taking 150% of the responsibility. Right?
So the way that the liability will work is a percentage of liability is assigned to everybody who was partially involved or partially responsible for what happened. Well, David Dobrik has said, I could take 80% or 90% of it, and that the only time when he stopped feeling like he could was when it hit 150%. I don't even know if that will come in, because it is sort of a legal conclusion, but it's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch this play out, because he's even gone into the assignment and percentage of liability between the parties in this video.
A combined decision we made, and it was a complete accident. And I'm so fucking sorry that accident happened, but it did. It's also like really tough when, like, I can see from just perspective, like, it's probably really tough when he sees my videos and I'm like traveling the world and I'm having this like fucking time of my life. And it's like,
and he's getting his eye cracked open. He puts up with you.
And then I feel bad for myself.
Here, what David Dobrik has done is admitted not just the damages, like the medical bills that Jeff Wittek would have incurred, but he's gone even further than that. He's actually admitted some of the pain and suffering that Jeff Wittek is watching David Dobrik do all the things that Jeff Wittek used to be able to do and that now he can't because he's been injured. That sort of pain and suffering admission, you would never get that in a case. You would never get that in a deposition.
And later to me, and he was like, this is boring. What are we, like preschoolers? Like, let's do something cool.
Here he's getting into a description of the primary defense that his team is going to lay, which is it was all Jeff Wittek's idea. Jeff Wittek wanted to do this. Jeff Wittek thought that things weren't exciting enough and they needed to up the game and make the video more interesting, so he wanted to do this. Now, Jeff Wittek denies that, but that's what the defense is going to be.
He said he wanted to swing from it, and I loved the idea. I was like, hell yeah, let's do it.
And here, Jeff Wittek may have had the idea, but David Dobrik is acknowledging that he was in favor of the idea and approved it and wanted to go forward with it.
So when we got to the hospital, Jeff was in pretty good spirits. I remember Jeff told me to check my DMs, and it was a video that he found like 15 minutes before the accident that somebody posted. And he said, let's recreate this. And it was a guy swinging from an excavator and flying off. I didn't see that DM till the hospital. And he jokes. He's like, I didn't mean literally, haha, like he joked.
So No doubt one of the arguments at trial is going to be that Jeff Wittek had the idea to do this, and they might have argued that the text message is sort of what prompted it. But David Dobrik has eliminated that by acknowledging here that he saw that text message only afterwards. So he had never seen this video and he wasn't trying to recreate that. You've also got Jeff Wittek saying afterwards, immediately by David Dobrik's own admission, that that was a joke. He wasn't intending for them to simulate that, for him to literally go flying off the end and get hurt.
It was a comeback video. There was a lot of pressure on that.
I think there's a lot to be said with just that as well. Like, I think that's why I don't want to make the kinds of videos I was making before, was there was this like pressure to perform.
And I want to stop here and then address what he's going to say next. One of the arguments really from the internet, from critique that David Dobrik has received, is that he was too absorbed in making sensational videos and getting a lot of views. And so he took risks that he shouldn't have taken. He's acknowledging here some of the elements of what might be something Jeff Wittek brings at trial, which is, yeah, there was a lot of pressure to create videos that were sensational enough to get attention, to have people watch them. And now I want you to hear what he says next.
I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on it, because it's like one side, like, that's how things are made that are great. Like, everybody wants to contribute. Everybody wants to make it bigger. Everybody wants to make it better. Like, that's how great things are made, is like people have a motive and people have a desire to make something amazing. So like on one side, I think like that's exactly how something great is done. But on the other side, I could see how like that environment can get dangerous.
I found that fascinating because David Dobrik is acknowledging he was under a lot of pressure, but he's also not quite ready to let that go. He says he's 50-50 on it. He says, on the one hand, yeah, he can see where that creates a lot of pressure and could endanger someone. But on the other hand, that's how you do great videos. That's how you do great things, is you take these wild risks. So he remains torn. And I think that could play into any claim for punitive damages if Jeff Wittek makes that.
In terms of his like medical payments, so far we've paid, I think I just had a counting check and it was like $78,000 of surgery. And like, he still has my word. Like, I told him that I'd pay for a surgery. And to this day, like, I'm still keeping my word. Like, I want him to send me whatever he needs me to pay for.
One of the things that has already been done by David Dobrik is he's already paid part of the medical bills, part of an acknowledgement that he believes he was responsible for that. As I understand it, the $70,000 that they paid is only a very small percentage of the amount that Jeff Wittek has actually incurred because he's had so many surgeries. I believe Jeff Wittek claims that's not even close to right. And they have a difference of opinion as to how forthcoming David Dobrik has been on paying that. Nonetheless, he has admitted to some degree liability by already paying the damages voluntarily, by already paying medical bills.
Like I said, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about this, and I'm so sorry that this happened to you, Jeff. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's a good thing to never forget, right? Like, this moment has taught me so many fucking lessons, where I'm gonna make sure nothing like that happens again. Like, we still do the goofy and like stunty things sometimes, but like now we can do it with like proper people around.
Okay, I want to stop there because there are two things I want you to think about here. First of all, he's acknowledged that he needs to change and that he needs to change the way he's doing things. And he's also said he's taking responsibility for that he's doing that. But now he's getting into a bunch of statements that will be great fodder for cross-examination. He just said now they're going to have responsible people around. And so the question will immediately be, well, where were those responsible people before? Did you not think you had to have those before? Apparently that wasn't important to you before. And those sorts of cross-examination questions he's opening himself up to.
And now I've learned to say no to a lot.
So you couldn't say no before. You always said yes. You always said yes when it meant you were going to make money. Isn't that right, David Dobrik? That's the sort of cross-examination that comes straight from this.
It's never enough, like where you are. Like, you always have to do the next thing.
That I thought was important because he's acknowledging that there's this intense pressure to keep going, to keep making them more sensational, to keep pulling people in. There's pressure to do that. And that created the environment in which Jeff Wittek got hurt. The fascinating thing about this case is that for the first time, we are seeing the extent to which social media is going to take over the lawsuit process. It's going to become the thing that swings the case more than the discovery. I want you to understand how this is testing the law, because we aren't used to people having such upfront discussions about liability without the counsel of lawyers. It changes the way the lawsuit proceeds, and that the law has to learn how to address situations where people have made numerous comments in public to an extent that we have never seen before, but that I think we're likely to see more and more from social media. Now, Jeff Wittek made plenty of comments of his own, some of them helpful, some of them harmful for his case. He did the same thing that David Dobrik did, which is he went on YouTube and he talked about it. In fact, he did a 4-part documentary on what happened to him, including a lot of documentation about the medical stuff, which would never be available normally. You would never have that much documentation throughout the recovery process, throughout the operations. He did a lot of work around videoing and documenting that, which will help him a lot in this case. So thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I'd love to see you back in my next videos.